Elizabeth, I'm so happy to have you here today. How's it going?
Hey, thank you, Lior. I am so happy to be here.
It's such a beautiful day in Berlin today.
Yeah, I really love September in Berlin.
Would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
My name is Elizabeth Press. A lot of people know me from D3M Labs. That's the media platform I founded that is dedicated to profitable and secure digital business. Before that, I was a data leader, and that's how also a lot of people know me. And right now, I am Deputy Chief Digital Officer by the Center for Hybrid Electric Systems, Cottbus. So it's CESCO, and that's a research facility at the BTU, the Brandenburg Technical University.
I remember you had some AI course lately, right? That you were promoting.
Yeah, and that was at the Hasso-Plattner Institute. That was really good. It was profitable AI, and I did this with the AI Service Center at the Hasso-Plattner Institute and Open HPI, so Open Hasso-Plattner Institute. You could see this on their website. It was a really cool course. Over 5,000 people actually signed up, and they learned how to make money from AI because most AI initiatives lose money. So that was great. Yeah, a lot of what I do at my current job as Deputy Chief Digital Officer at CESCO, as we call it, is digital research, or so research in our digital part of our digital factory of how we could build secure digital twins and digital threads where different partners can collaborate on really cool stuff like AR, VR, and other sorts of use cases in a secure environment we're looking at different use cases to transform the mobility sector in Germany. It's different than the startup scene, very B2B focused, very sometimes even B2G focused, but it's still really cool and really impactful. And I've met a lot of, I would say, very innovative people from the German government. I'm really trying to push the structural economic transformation of the Lausitz region, so around Cottbus, using these new digital technologies as a driver of economic growth.
That sounds super awesome, actually. And it's a big change from what you did before as well. It's more governmental work, I guess.
Yeah, it's a lot of looking at different government funding programs and seeing what's available, looking also at our factory. So we are a research factory that is focused on hybrid electric drives for aerospace. So looking at that and looking at the digital thread and the digital twin that we've built for that factory and looking at how can we further research based on that work done. And a lot of it is looking at really cool cybersecurity use cases, but also looking at, for example, maturity for digital twins. What I've learned from the Berlin startup scene and scale-up scene is that maturity in data governance and also just organizational maturity is so important. Use case development is so important. And, just like in any B2C startup or scale up in any industrial area, if you don't know what your use case is and you don't have the operational maturity to manage your data well, to actually pull off whatever you're trying to pull off, you're not going to be profitable or successful.
Yep.
The same principles exist there, except in a digital factory, or it's attached to a physical factory. And when things go wrong, they actually have physical world implications.
Before we jump into the problem, I have three icebreaker questions for you.
Yeah,
The first one, if your inbox were a database, would you clean it or delete it?
I would probably clean it.
Next question, if your data could talk, what would it complain about?
If my data could talk, what would it complain about?
Yeah.
I sometimes second guess it too much.
And then the third question that we have prepared for today is if your data team had a theme song, what would it be?
It would be always attach a business problem to your technical problem. I sang that song, I think, 3 times already today.
Who needs business case? Come on, just do it. And which is actually connected now to the new change of Nike. They're changing the slogan from just do it to why do it.
Why you do it, why you do things.
Why you do it.
That's good, so that people don't just do stuff for the point of doing stuff. They actually think about why they do things.
Correct.
And
That's
people think
genius.
that mankind isn't evolving.
I think it's time to jump into the problem. What do you think? Are you ready for it?
Yeah,
You sure? You sound very enthusiastic about it. We don't know what it is, right?
I live dangerously.
So let's do it. I'm revealing it. Opala. So what do we have here? Our AI loan approval model appears to systematically deny qualified applicants in certain zip codes at higher rates, but we cannot explain individual decisions, creating the severe discrimination liability and regulatory risk. Without explainable AI capabilities, we face potential discrimination lawsuits, regulatory penalties, and must choose between business-critical AI accuracy and legal compliance. We have in the situation 6 months ago, we implemented an advanced deep learning model for loan approval that improved our accuracy by 23%. Nice. And reduced processing time from days to minutes. The business results have been phenomenal: faster decisions, better risk assessments, and improved customer experience. During a routine audit, our legal team discovered that qualified applicants from certain zip codes are being denied at rates of 40% higher than similar applicants from other areas. When we tried to understand why specific decisions were made, our data science team told us the deep learning model is essentially a black box. They can't explain individual predictions. I'm facing an impossible choice: either maintain our highly accurate AI system and accept legal regulatory risks, or invent a slower, less accurate traditional methods that we can explain. Meanwhile, regulatory pressure is increasing and we may face discrimination lawsuits. The business loves the AI results but doesn't understand the compliance implementation. Boundaries: cannot eliminate AI entirely. Competitive advantage: must maintain current process, speed, and customer experience. Regulatory examinations scheduled in 12 weeks. I'm not sure if we managed to hit these 12 weeks. It was submitted quite a long time ago. Budget exists for compliance situation, but not completely system rebuilding. Need to balance AI innovation with legal requirements. Any thoughts about it?
Well, my first thought, I should have a disclaimer that I'm not a lawyer, okay?
Me too.
Um,
Me too.
and there's the EU AI Act, and there's criticalities and risks of different use cases. And this use case seems to be a pretty critical use case, talking about which people get money to start businesses. There's a lot of ethical risk. But years ago, I worked in financial risk management, and we were building a credit rating model. And we talked about these sorts of things about, also what sort of factors could be used in these credit rating models. And we talked about the banality of evil, actually, in this, that there's certain factors that could be used in credit rating models that are unethical, according to at least what my colleague and I considered ethical. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, this is really a Pandora's box, I think, for ethical and legal compliance and politics. When you have a use case that is that critical to somebody's life, that you need to be cognizant of the fact that AI is imperfect and AI is not sentient. AI just is a magnifier of the society we live in. And I think use the model to that extent and think about what the human in the loop is.
Yeah. May I then? Okay, so we're saying we don't touch the legal part, if I understand it
Yes.
correctly, because we are both not lawyers. We have no clue about that. The same time, about ethics, I think we can fill up. It's not going to be one episode. It's going to be many episodes to talk about ethics and what is ethical AI. What we
Yes.
can work on is try to solve the process of the data science team unable to explain decision making. As this sounds to you like a clarity statement that is okay about what we solve?
Yes, we could, but I do think it's intertwined. But we could talk about, yes, the decision making. I just think it's intertwined, how much you use AI for and how much you use human reasoning for, because humans have ethics and humans have opinions, and AI does not.
I think that here I need to give a disclaimer as well. I'm not sure how much I'm comfortable in this alley because I usually trying to avoid PII data as much as possible, but because it's long, I will try to do my solution so we see where we're ending up here. I think it's a quite
Yeah.
interesting one. So we basically what we are saying is that we solve the ability of the data science team to explain the decisions. Ethics are still part of it because they need to be connected.
I think because I've been talking also with people about legal AI, and in the United States, for example, there's AI that's used for justice decisions
Yes.
that I really don't like that's used. So what am I actually comfortable that AI is used for, as me, Elizabeth? And I would say, in these sorts of things, there's a decision automation point at which you need a human. And I think that's part of this discussion.
Yeah.
To what point can you automate a decision? And to what point do you actually need an actual human to make the final decision?
Will you agree with the clarity statement that we have then now in place?
I do not solve. We are not lawyers. Okay, fine. The ability to explain the decisions, but we stay away from ethics and we stay away from legal stuff.
As much as possible, because I think that this is too deep to go into one session that we're going to have today. We're going to try to solve
Yeah.
basically the problem that they have with explaining the model, maybe, and what tools they can place or put in place basically to try and resolve it.
Yeah.
Good. Are you ready for the 15 minutes off camera?
Yep.
I'm starting the timer now, and when it's over, I see you back here. But we are back from the brainstorming, Elizabeth. How was it?
It was good. Yeah.
I must admit that I think it was the first time that I was a bit complicated about the solution area. I'm not sure what I came up with. I went with my best practices, but this was a little bit out of my comfort zone. Let's say that. Would you like to start and presenting your findings?
Yeah, sure. Let me just say the constraints were, as I said before, legal things and legal concerns are there, and I don't touch them because I'm not a lawyer, and neither are you.
Correct.
Um, my other concern is that this is a very emotional and political topic, and let's just say that. My thought here is this a technical problem, or is this actually a tools and process problem? Because the problem here is that they're using AI that is unexplainable for a really highly sensitive use case. And their USP is like some sort of speed to market, and what they think is accuracy.
Yeah.
And what does accuracy mean? Is that the correct default predictions, or is that customer satisfaction? So I see a definition and clarity problem as well. But let's look at some ideas I have. I think that there's an issue that this is a very complicated use case that should not be using an AI that you can't explain. I think that if you're using an AI you can't explain to determine if somebody gets money or not that they might need for whatever, this is you, you're not doing yourself, society, or that person any favor in any way. Risk management has developed really good statistical techniques. And I think that these statistical techniques, I know that, statistics and math might be really boring for some people, but also, our beloved AI tools are often also built on probabilistic models. So I
Zero
think
one.
that we need, huh?
It's a 0-1 at the end of the day, like everything else.
Yeah, so I think that for most use cases, especially these very critical ones, let's get back to the basics and look at math, as complicated as it might be. If you want to speed up the process, or if you want to make better models, I think we need to look at other methods. Let's take, where are most AI teams highly inefficient? Knowledge management, I think, for example. Most teams really start their brainstorming and their modeling from like square one, and they don't understand. They're very bad at retaining this knowledge about what has worked in previous models. I think you could really get a lot of time to market, so to speak, from really good knowledge management. The problem with knowledge management is you have to do it well. Then there is this getting comfortable with statistics. I remember using logistic regression for credit rating models. And I think at some point you need to get back to the basics of, looking at what are explainable variables, what actually works, and, what's the core of what you're looking for, and
Yeah.
not getting, some sort of exotic variables that are not that explainable and also are probably causing a lot of this political pain, if you want to call it that. Understanding multicollinearity, understanding what's a confounding variable, because obviously these models are not performing that well if they're discriminating against certain zip codes. That there must be something in there that is making a lot of statistical noise. So let's understand the statistics and understand what's going on there. I think controlling for biases, and this is something that you could do as a part of just sound quality practice. Look at how you're collecting your data. Assumptions are you making? Are you making assumptions that have some sort of bias in them and you just don't realize it? I think that we all have biases in ourselves, right? And
Yeah.
Lior, if you and I would start making a model and coming up with hypotheses, I'm sure you and I would think that we're being really objective, but we will have biases in
Always.
there. I think that you need to, whatever you could say, hire diverse people and whatnot, but you're still going to always have a bias. So I think, this back testing, looking at if certain biases in the data are coming from biases in assumptions, even if it's not because people are horrible people, but it's just human nature to have certain modes of thinking. And, just check the whole process. If there are some unconscious biases that are coming up, or just some practices that have some unintended purposes, and have these audits, and just don't make them political and judgmental, just make them a part of a normal quality check. And I think you'll get a lot of learnings from that. And then, your legal team are your best friends in this. Because your legal team knows the laws. Get your PR team and your marketing team in there. Get as many experts in there as possible, and get their feedback on the modeling process. They might not know all the math or whatever. They probably won't, but get them in there, like challenging your assumptions, telling you what your constraints are, so it's programmed in, and have them throughout the entire process. Do not do this retroactively, because retrofitting a model for legal is just really painful, and don't do that.
Usually they're being involved, they're getting involved the less, right? Somebody remember, we need to call the legal and tell them we have this model now running, and then you need to refix or rebuild everything basically based on the recommendations. So that's a very important point.
Yeah, so I think, I already said about knowledge management, improve your operations. I think there's a lot to be done. Improve your UI and how you deliver the information to your customers, but don't use a black box model for such a thing.
I think that you took also this approach of the legal, the aspects of the biases and how to check the model, which is a part that I didn't even consider when I was thinking about it. And as I said, it was a little bit out of my depth. Maybe I can also share my overview. And basically what I did here is I realized, okay, what are the quick wins we can have? The first one is hybrid model. This is the easiest one to implement, right? If it's rejected, just transfer it, send it to a human, and figure out what's going on afterwards. And then from there, you can run basically scenarios. So to test the scenarios, to check the patterns, to start figuring out, because there is a human involved now, actually, if there was the right decision or not the right decision, and then teach the system back, give them this information on how to improve. The second part I was thinking about is like model confidence. It's connected to the quick wins, but building it in long term, so a little bit more structured with statistics and numbers and maths, so not just by gut feeling, or not just sending all the rejected. So certain percent pass score, then pass it. Otherwise, send it to a human. And then you're starting to create a little bit more structure in the way that you make a decision. You can explain the model, right? So you know now this is why it got rejected. Now a human can go and supervise it, make a decision, decide where they want to go from there, yes or no. This is one approach I took and tried to figure this one out. Then the second one said, okay, what can we actually do to get a little bit more understanding of what's going on? Let's close it. Let's make maybe 3 or 5 cases that basically it will be easier to explain. So 3 to 5 drivers, or levers of the decision. For example, year of birth, type of work, income, and so on and so on. So try to create some kind of a model that metrics can explain the decision. And based on it, this is the critical criteria we made a decision on. And from there, basically, each loan needs to have then some kind of a documentation saying why it got approved or not, based on these 3 to 5 features. We're creating a little bit of better process. And we create, out of it, I created a dashboard with many exclamation mark. People are going to hate me. You don't need another dashboard, but you need a dashboard, because this is how you can see the trend over time, right? When things are going out of control, or are they getting better and better? The other idea that I had, which is standing here a little bit alone, I will come to it in a second. I forgot to say here. And the second part that I was thinking about is like slow down the decision a bit. So instead of running into 2 seconds, I think they said it, right? It was something like this. It was a really, really quick decision that they are making. I don't see it now, but I remember it was like very quick one. Slow it down and try to validate the model. So the model itself going to validate the decision and give the double feedback, double approval. And this is maybe trying to do some way of better decisions. And then this is the standalone one. Here it's a closed box test. So remove the zip code, add the zip code, see how the decisions are different. Is it actually the zip code? Maybe it's actually something else, because one of the things that I realized many times is that we had the usual suspect or the main suspect. We started to investigate and then figure out it was not even this one. It was something else. And then we wasted a lot of investigation time basically on something that was not making any sense. So close box, test it with zip, without zip, see the results, and then figure out what's going on from there. We have 12 weeks deadline. It's a big thing, right? Because we need to present that A, we understand the problem, B, we have a path to solution, and C, that we are able to actually move forward. So how are we going to correct it from here? Otherwise the authorities will have an issue, and we need to make sure that we can make it happen. And when I was thinking about this model, I was thinking about a loan request that a friend of mine had a few months ago, and it got rejected almost immediately from all the banks that he was checking with. He was using a third party, and one of his feeling was like, I have the money, I have all the documents I requested, and I still got rejected. And nobody explained to me why. And this is exactly what you expected at the end of the day to explain in this audit, why they got rejected. So if you don't have it, you need to start preparing it and make sure you have it. Then 2 points here that I added as well regarding the concern. So first of all, model tend to drift. After a time, it's not anymore relevant. How do you actually keep it in place? And I think this is something that they need to think about it. Also like confidence score or something like this. And then the speed is maybe the issue. Also, when you're pushing a model too fast, maybe it doesn't have the time, or it not having the time to validate the results. And we need to think about that as well. I went more technical, and I didn't think about the aspects of you. And I think that with both of our solutions, we have something that is quite interesting, actually, because we combined both of the worlds in some way.
I think you and I have also converged on the importance of statistics, using sound statistics. I think also we both are believers in a good process. You've put this maybe in different words, controlling for model drift, I said the the data ops, the AI ops, but there was some meaning in that we have to check for the quality of the model over time so that we could explain it and control that it's giving us good decisions.
And I think that this is the part that everybody needs to consider when they talking about these problems. Time is short. We need to move to the next stage. Let's turn off the cameras. Think about our 3 insights and 3 action points. We are back, and I see you have 3 insights and 3 action items. Would you like to share with us a little bit what are your aha moments or insights?
Yeah. So, the insights. So you need to know why you are using a model or using AI. Why are you doing what you're doing? How does that tie to your strategy? And how could you measure the effectiveness of whatever initiative you're doing? And this is beyond AI. This is for anything you do. But people tend to forget that AI also needs to be tied to strategy, and they just set off on AI without measuring if it's actually bringing them closer to their strategic objectives. Define what your strategic positioning is in the market and what your strategic objectives are and how AI is helping you get those, and how would you know if AI is actually helping you? And measure, visualize, like you said about dashboards. Model creation is a cross functional process, and it's not just the job of data scientists. I see this a lot. Data scientists are in their little cave somewhere in a company, and people just say, like, oh, yeah, these are like the really smart guys doing the really complicated stuff, and they don't even talk to them. This is not the way to go. And sometimes they don't even speak the same language, like the same human language. Really try to break whatever barrier might be there and get these people involved in your modeling process really early on and regularly. They don't need to understand everything you're doing. It's really good to educate them in terms of, how the process goes and why their input is needed. But they don't need to know all the weeds and technical details of everything you're doing to be impactful,
Right.
and get them involved regularly at every step, and make it fun. Make them want to do this. Insight number 3, bias is quantifiable. If nothing else, your bias is quantifiable because your customers are angry with you and you're losing your customers, and they're going to your competition. So you're losing revenue and you're having a lot of churn. Um, maybe you're also having more defaulting loans. Think about how to tie bias to business results, because that's the way that executives will also prioritize fighting this bias. And yeah, I mean, quantify how how the bias impacts business, but also the technical KPIs and the technical impact that might have. Where's this coming from? Create these quality metrics and use these quality metrics as part of your regular way of working, so that when you're having your meetings and when you're looking at your results, you're also looking at what are we doing wrong? Where do we need to improve? So define your, strategic KPIs. Um, Involve people cross-functionally, create cross-functional teams, and create quality metrics.
If you allow me, I already want to take actually your insight number 1 and move it into the key insights. Do
Mhm.
you agree with it?
Yeah.
Because I think it's quite important to state it. Just fix it a bit into my sections. I give a little bit overview. Ethics are maybe complicated, but with sensitive models, they must be considered. I think this is one thing that everybody should take out of here. We didn't touch ethics, but I think it's a very important thing to say and state, and many times as possible. Otherwise, you're going to run into issues. You must be able, then the second point is you must be able to explain your model. Without it, you run into risks. If you cannot explain what is running, this is not that you're running an ad now on a third party, like, I don't know, Facebook and Google, and you say, I don't know how they made the decision who to serve it to. This is in your house. This is your territory. You need to be able to explain how you made the decision and why you made it. And then the third aha moment that I had is it's not the speed of the process, it's how accurate it is. And I think this is something that between the lines, I'm trying to understand or trying to think maybe it was we needed to do something fast because this is what we sell, the sell point is. But if it's not accurate and it's not giving the right results, then we screwed it completely and it's not going to be useful. From the action points, there is basically create test box. You should be able to test different scenarios and you should not wait for the data scientist to enable you. I think this is one thing that is for me very important as a business person. You need to be able to come, give a scenario, see what is the results, agree to it or disagree to it. The second point is validate the statistical model and the bias. Time after time, you need to keep doing it. I remember that at the days at Zalando, for example, when we had the steering decisions, are we putting more money or less money in a campaign? We had a security score next to it. How confident are we in the results and making this decision based on the recommendation of the machine? This helped us in many cases to actually overwrite it manually and say, no, we disagree. And also the confidence level shows that we should do it. And then the third action point is create decision log and decisions and escalation process. We need to be able to have some decision log that explains why the decision was made and also give the machine the ability to escalate the process. Based on these criteria, you should escalate it to a human, or based on this criteria, this is what you need to do, and make it a little bit more part of communication, I think, with the machine itself and the model, and then also the people who are using it. I don't know what is behind it, if there is customer support or there is no customer support. Is there somebody who's validating it financially that it's the right decision or not? All of these things, they need to be there and they need to explain also who to direct it to the right people. And this is from my perspective. Would you like to recommend another key insight that we should transfer to the box? We have up to 3. Do you have anything already in mind?
I like your validate the statistical models and the bias. I think that is really statistical common sense. I think people, with all this AI hype, people forget about the fact that statistics is the cornerstone of AI and the cornerstone of finance. Let's not forget that.
Agree. I think also regarding create cross-functional project, I think this is also another important action point. It should not be in isolation. It should not be a model that's being created because somebody is smart enough to create a model. It actually should come from everybody together in the room and they all agree on it. Are you agreeing
Yes.
with it?
Yes, and I think a lot of these like legal nightmares that people see on the news, or maybe people have experienced it, are because people just don't talk to the lawyers before they do something.
You're not going to go and take a risk without talking to a lawyer first to make sure that you're not going to pay quite a lot of money afterwards. And then talking about the points that are still left, anything else you would drag to our final section?
We didn't get into the operations. How could we actually create sound statistical models that are explainable, that account for model drift, and actually create really good AI ops and data ops to be able um, to reach the speed objectives. That would be another episode.
A full one. I think it's important, right, to have this structure in place that can support, especially in such models that are very, very heavy and very important. And if you allow me also, I will drag key insight of the create test box, because I think it's also quite important to be able to have the testing area. Or would you vote for something else?
I think having a testing area is really good. Yes, test it before you bring it out into the open.
I think this is something that we tend sometimes to ignore because we think, okay, okay. It's not that we ignore, but we're testing it maybe so many times we already cannot see anymore what is the problem, right? Or that you are not a domain expert in this specific thing, and then you just don't know what to look at. And I think this is important to have these test boxes so that domain experts can experiment and play with it and give you the feedback at the end of it. We're arriving to the end of this episode. Anything you would like to add towards the end?
I think that this question has reminded us that the tools need to fit the problem, and AI doesn't fix everything, and AI is not appropriate for everything. also for ethical reasons.
Would you like to leave any last famous words where people can find you and so on? And what are you doing? What are you up for nowadays?
Yeah, well, people could always find me under D3M Labs. So look at LinkedIn, find me there. Also follow D3M Labs on LinkedIn. I have a D3M Labs YouTube channel.
We'll edit in the comments as well for the episode so people can click on it.
Also, follow me on LinkedIn, and I update regularly about what I'm doing with D3M Labs, but also what I'm doing in my day job.
Elizabeth, I really enjoyed. I think it was super awesome to have you in, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for joining.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's a wrap on another Data Breakthroughs session. If you enjoyed watching us tackle this problem, we would love to solve yours next. Head to the link in the show notes to submit your data challenge. You could be featured in an upcoming episode. If you're a data professional who wants to join me in the problem-solving hot seat, there is a guest form too. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next breakthrough. Bye-bye.